Thank you for being here. It is Monday, November 15th, 2021. If I could please get everyone to silence your cell phones and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. There we go. All right. Mrs. Anderson, will you please take the roll?
I will.
Oh, thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Holland.
Present.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Fredericks. Councilmember Plaza.
Here.
Councilmember Graham.
Here.
All right. Mr. Fredericks did call ahead this evening. He is extremely ill, so I'll accept a motion for his absence.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Mrs. Anderson?
Councilmember Rounds.
Yeah, aye. I was going to say here. Aye.
That's
Are you
good.
there? Okay, wait a minute. I lost my vote. There we go. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Come on, guys. They're going to make a video about this at some point.
Do over. Do over.
Do we want to start again?
Yeah.
Let's try again.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Fredericks has been excused. Moving, we have no presentations or proclamations this evening. And moving on to citizen communication for items not on the agenda, we have Mr. Boyle. I'll have you stand up here. I'll give you 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, today I am here to share the excitement we have in planning for the 100th Planters Days celebration. And I just want to let everybody know we're planning more events, really busy at the meetings with more things going on. More people coming to the meetings. The last meeting had probably 16 people at it. And so if there's any questions anybody has, I'd love to answer them or share more about what's going on. Sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this going to be an in-person plan?
This is, we are planning it in real life, and we're right now not looking at not doing it in real life. I mean, if we're faced with that bridge, we'll deal with it when we come to
But
it.
as of right now, it looks like.
Full deal, bigger than ever,
Good.
bigger than ever. Fireworks, music, carnival, a beer fest, a coronation. Yeah, so real good things.
All right.
I'll plan on coming and sharing any details once a month.
Perfect.
I love it.
That's it. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be sitting in this chair for the 100 years. This is exciting. It's good
Yes.
stuff. I might get a shirt. I'm just saying. I might get a shirt that says 100 years. I'm the mayor.
Going here for 100 more years?
Yes, Mr. Smith, sorry.
Do you Zoom those meetings? Are they,
We have in the past.
okay.
We can probably make those accommodations. Let me know.
Okay.
If we need to make those accommodations. But
Okay.
yeah, everybody's excited. First Monday of the month first Tuesday of the month at Columbia Bank presently.
And
6 p.m.
Anybody can go to the meetings?
Yes.
And when are they again? Sorry.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on
Yeah. First Tuesday of the month.
first Tuesday, okay.
Awesome. Mrs. Graham.
If I can add to Keith's presentation that our theme contest is still open.
It has ended today.
Oh, was it today?
It
Oh,
has ended
okay.
today, and those will vote on those themes and have the art contest up here by the end of the week and out to the schools.
That's what I was saying, and the art contest is out.
It will be available as soon as we have the theme for them to do their
All
art.
right.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
That
I'll
was-
take a
We
couple
didn't
more
do art
days.
last year, did we?
No.
Because, okay, but we did it 1 year, and then we had to stop. That was so much fun. Do I get to be involved with that again?
We actually did 2 years.
We did 2 years?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
Call me for
absolutely.
judging on those.
Okay, yeah,
I like that
sure.
on the artwork stuff. That's so fun.
Okay, for
I
sure.
really like it, yes.
And the tickets are going to be green.
Which is a different color. I've never seen green tickets so far, so pink and purple. So.
Long time.
All right.
All right.
Any more questions for Mr. Belli on the 100th planning event? No? All right.
right,
Looking forward to
thank
it.
you.
We'll see you in another month then.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else for items not on the agenda? Anyone online for items not on the agenda? All right, moving on to items on the agenda. I have no one signed up in the gallery. Anyone online? See no one. Moving on. We've come to the portion of our agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Ooh, moved by Councilmember Round, second by Councilmember Smith. I think he had you just by a little bit. Mrs. Anderson.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
All right, the agenda has been approved. Moving on to public hearing. The time is now 7:06. We are moving into a public hearing regarding the 2022 budget. Is there anyone in the gallery who'd like to step forward to speak on the 2022 budget? Anyone online for items or to discuss the 2022 budget? The front door is unlocked. And the time is 7:07. We are out of public hearing on the 2022 budget. Reports of City Council. Carl Chapman.
Hey, Chief Coleman,
Yes.
who did the roundabout at Sherman's Corner?
I put a sign out there so you wouldn't ask me that.
Yeah, I know.
I know who it is, Kiwanis Club.
Yes,
Kiwanis
thank
Club.
you, good job.
What
good
a
job.
beautiful job they did
Yeah,
out there.
Kiwanis
Oh,
Club.
it took, I'm very happily pleased with it. A very nice job they did.
They
yes.
actually are not only doing that roundabout on Lewis River Road, but they're also taking care of our entrance signs into the city when you go off exit 21 and exit 21 on both directions.
Yeah, I know I was driving by this weekend. What a beautiful job they did on it.
Yeah, they do a
Yes.
good job, and we put a sign out there recognizing them.
Nice. Anyone else?
I will share that information with you.
Yes, please.
All right, seeing no reports of council. Moving on to reports of standing committees. Finance and General Government.
So Finance and General Government met tonight at 5:30 in Police Conference Room. We went over, bear with me here, went over October sales tax report for 2021, sales tax analysis report for October 2021. The total sales tax of $188,000 decreased by 15% or by $34,400 when compared to last month in September 2021, when the sales tax was $222,400, but increased by 5% or $8,400 when compared to last year in October, when the sales tax totaled $179,600. So far we're up as a whole. Everything else looks good as far as, everything else looks good as far as receivables and expenditures. We went over a few leak adjustments, and those seemed pretty standard. And then we went over the surplus items on the agenda tonight, and we adjourned at 6 p.m., and our next meeting is December 20th at 5:30.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Smith this evening? All right, seeing none, Mr. Plaza, Human Resources.
Human Resources, we met this evening right here at the council chambers, and it was a pretty quick general type thing. The first thing we discussed were observed holidays and maybe possibly some potential changes, but that's all still up in the air due to needing to talk to various guilds and unions, and that'll take, so that's nothing changed there. And possibly some exciting changes in the police department that will be a great benefit to the city and the area if it happens. But again, it's just discussion at this point, so I don't want to throw out details because they may change in the future. So as soon as we have more solid information, obviously, we will release that at that time. And that was about all we really talked about. So our next meeting is on December 20th at, I'm assuming, 5:30, right here at the City Council chambers.
All right, questions for Mr. Plaza? All right, seeing none, moving on to Chamber of Commerce report. Mrs. Graham.
Yes, as we know that our visitor center is still open 7 days a week from 9 to 4. If you need little specialty gifts for anybody, they have some new items and whatnot at very reasonable prices, so please stop by and see our facility. We still meet Tuesday at noon at Casa Tapatia for our luncheons. And please, again, mark your calendars. You're all staff and members invited to the golf course on December the 2nd is our annual Christmas party. There will be a meal served and auction items, live and silent. And then, of course, we will have our Christmas mystery boxes to buy, and our ladies at Red Canoe do what we call our booze tree, and as a fundraiser, and it's always fun. Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus will be there for pictures, and I don't know, there may be some other things thrown in at the same time. And then please, there will be more details to come and formal invitations to our annual chamber banquet. That will be January the 29th, 2022. And that is going to be held at A. Lene in one of their big meeting entertainment rooms. And that will be more to come on that item also. And please go online to the chamber website and choose your business, employee, and citizen of the year nominations, and there are applications on there for you to fill out. And we plan on a good time. It'll be lots of fun.
All right.
So,
Thank you. Questions for Mrs. Graham this evening?
what time is the Christmas party? Starts at 5. 5? Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Moving on to report city officers. I'm up this evening. I'd like to take note of the surplus items that are on your agenda this evening in, what action item is it here? F, action item F. There are 2 items. When you get to that, I ask that you pull 2 of those items. We need to do some further research on ownership. One is I believe it's listed as a rock lamp and a chest freezer. But everything else is ready to roll. If when we get to that item, if someone could please pull those 2 items out of that list, that would be very helpful for us. Thank you. And then also this evening, you've got action item G, which is the Resolution 742 rescinding Resolution 719 declaring COVID-19 emergency in the city of Woodland. I've asked that be put on the agenda this evening due to the fact that I think that the city of Woodland is not in an emergency anymore. I believe that we are doing great. I think there's some personal responsibility that is being taken within our city, and I think our businesses are doing great, judging by the sales tax report we just got from Mr. Smith. People are out and about and taking care of business. So at this time, I'd ask that 742 be approved, and we move about a cabin. All right. Other than that, at this time, I'm going to call Mr. Goddard up. Or so you're going to stay there, Mr. Goddard?
I can do it from here.
Okay. To do a demo on our new website, which should be launching this Friday. Mrs. Holland, can you see the new website? Can we share the screen with Miss, or can we share the screen?
I don't think we can with, do you have to
We're gonna try and share our screen with you, so you're not just sitting there looking at my face.
Just have to remember how to.
Oh, I think it's at the bottom of the screen button.
Yes, it's shared.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The magic of technology. There we go. You can see that just fine, Mrs. Holland?
It's very pretty, I like it.
Perfect. All right. Mr. Goddard, Mrs. Coleman, do you start the timer?
Yes.
Okay, go.
Okay, so this is a mock-up of the city's website. We are hoping to go live by this Saturday, but our deadline is December 1st, so that was the deadline we set for ourselves. So hopefully we'll be a few days ahead of schedule. So we'll start by, so this is the search bar. You can enter a single word and it'll search our website. So if you want to know about floodplain, you can simply type in floodplain. You click the search button and it'll show you all the pages that discuss floodplain. So internally, it's very searchable. These are what they call the mega menus. So let's start with this one. So if you wanted to pay your bill, you could simply click on this and it'll open up a new tab. And it's a little slow, so while it's working on opening that tab, unless it's up top and I just can't see it.
It says online payment up top there.
Online Payment Center. So these are all the different options. So this is kind of one click. I want to pay my permit fee. It automatically opens up Permit Center, and this is where you can go to pay. So it's very friendly in that format. And so also everything from the Document Center, so all of our forms and applications will be in a single location, and our documents. So for example, if we click on this, it'll show you a searchable list of all of the forms in the entire city. So if we wanted to say, just take a look at the Clerk-Treasurer's office, click apply, and it'll tell you all of the forms and documents that the Clerk-Treasurer's office uses. So if you want to file a claim for damages for automobiles, then this is the PDF. If it is a fillable online, so if somebody wants to submit a citizen comment form, then you can go directly to the online form rather than passing through our website. So it's kind of maximized for efficiency. Bids, RFPs, Woodland Municipal Code, job opportunities. So this is kind of all of the things for them to submit a public comment or do their own searching or by themselves. This tab is for City Hall. So Police Department, Clark County Fire and Rescue, or Clark Cowlitz Fire and Rescue. This automatically goes to their website. It doesn't even stop at the city's website. The Police Department, Public Works, and then they have kind of sub-pages that you can get to. Community Development, Building, Code Enforcement, Planning. This one's an interesting one, so I'll open this up real quick. So this is the projects, and I'm actually thinking of changing this name to Development Projects. And it opens up a map. I'm trying to get this straightened out, because it doesn't show everything, and it should show the city of Woodland. But these are all of the ongoing land use, and not all of them, but several of them. So if you want to know what's going on with the Belmont Loop RV, which you went through, when you click on that, it'll say, so it shows you it's approved with conditions. So you can see there's the staff report, there's the decisions, there's the site plan, and it gives you the status, the location, and you can see where it's located on the map using the geocode. So we'll be able to use that for everything, including city projects and private development projects, whether it's construction, engineering, or utility projects. So it'll all be searchable online, so that
developers can actually look up their own project and determine where they are in the process and what's the next step. Clerk-Treasurer's office, so business licenses, and this is set up for once the state starts doing business licenses, this website will automatically close our page and publish the state page. So on the date they take over that responsibility, it'll automatically kick anyone over into the state business license page, and it opens up the form to request a business license from the state. Facility rentals, specialized events, utilities, boards and committees, the mayor, city administrator, and then of course the city council. I'm going to open that up real quick because this was sent to you in an email, and if you take a look at it, we are currently working on trying to get these photos resized, but if you actually go into, each of you has your own web page, and so it shows your full picture plus information about you and your term, including your email address. And so from here, you can go from council member to council member. So all of that information will be readily available online.
Should they be submitting some bios for that page?
So that's an issue. So I should qualify, we have two goals. One is to go live because our existing website has issues that aren't working well. It's not publishing all of the photos correctly and the links. And the second is there old information that needs to be updated, but rather than trying to fix the old website, we're trying to expedite and get the new website up and running instead of fixing the old one. The second goal is to start adding additional content and the stuff like the city projects, adding all the projects and adding all the bells and whistles so that you can actually see aerial photos of the sites and maps of the sites. So we're trying to get, that's kind of the second stage of once it's up and running and people can pay their bills and submit permits or submit applications on the new website, then we'll start looking for the bells and whistles as long as the existing website has been replaced. And then the last one is community resources. So in this case, you can go directly to the Chamber of Commerce, you can go to the library, you can go to the city parks page, but theoretically, it links to the Port of Woodland, includes the description. And so we've reached out to all of our existing partners and talked to them. Take a look at, can you find it? And the answer is inevitably yes, found it in 4 seconds. And so the school district was like, wow, that's awesome. And it links directly to their website. So their response took about 5 minutes to get back to me, and their comment was, it took me 4 seconds, and thank you very much. So we are able to link in with them directly. So everything from news and announcements to all of our partners, and we continue to add to that as additional partners want to be part of our website. And this is what we call a limited scroll design. So this is the news. As we get online and we produce additional news items like budget adopted or Planters Day, join us for the 100-year Planters Day, it'll start to rotate through here. So it'll show for a few seconds and then rotate to the next news article. We also have these quick link buttons for making payments, connecting with us. This is links you to a directory with everybody's email. This is a different version of this, which is the forms and applications. So this is another way to find it for people who don't like drop-down menus. They just want simple buttons. You know, even my son can figure out where the applications are. This is announcements. This is kind of similar to how we do things on our webpage currently. But also we really like this because down here, there's 3 headings here. So these are upcoming events on the calendar, and you'll notice that each one is different dates. As we add more information to our calendar, it will show like the next 6, the next 7 upcoming events. But right now we don't have anything on the calendar, so it's really kind of showing months and months out. There's also the public meetings page. So currently, if you're familiar with our website, it has kind of a not very usable Google Calendar, and that's been transferred over to the new one. But what we're actually going to do is we're going to use a different calendar, and so this will be an easier way. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to replace it with this. So instead of having to log on to iCompass and click on the date and open the agenda, and you have that funky sub window where you have to scroll down and then you have to grab the agenda and move it up. Now what will happen is you'll be able to log on to this, and it will open up the agenda, and it'll open up the packet directly from this window. So it goes from kind of a click, scroll, kind of. It'll just be single click so that you'll be able to immediately log on to the agenda, and then your second click will be able to open your GoToMeeting or your video window so that people can participate online instead of having to go to that page and then find the agenda, then open the agenda, then open the GoToMeeting. It'll be 1 or 2 clicks instead of 5 or 6. And then this is another way to get to the city projects. So this is just a different format of what I had shown you before, only it doesn't have the map. So here's the Oak Village Apartments, the Belmont Loop RV. This is the one-click way of getting to an update of all the projects, construction projects that are going on in the city right now. And so this will rotate through as projects get completed and new projects get updated. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to come by City Hall. We are making an effort to try and get all of the clerks, whether it's a clerk in the planning department or police department or the clerk's office, to understand how this works and to kind of do some quality control on their own department. And that way, if you have any questions, you should be able to approach any clerk at City Hall. And if you want something added, if there's a new press release, if there's a new special event, they will be able to know who takes care of it and get it uploaded basically as quickly as we possibly can. And it's super slick and it's super friendly.
I think it looks great.
I do too.
It's much better than what we have.
We don't take comments from the gallery. I'm sorry, sir, in the back. No, beginning of the meetings. Thank you. I think it looks very professional. Really ups our game. I like it.
And in case anybody wonders, that shape on that picture
Yes.
matches the Mount St. Helens on our logo. So,
Oh, I thought you were talking about the word circle down below the welcome to Woodland.
Oh, the circle track?
Yeah. What is it? What is the circle track? What is that?
Oh, it's just a loop for the news and stuff.
Okay, that's what I thought. That wasn't sure because it was scrolled with your as you scrolled. Okay.
That's the design of the new NASCAR track going.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Any questions for Mr. Goddard?
Looks great.
No. Okay.
I like the idea that you can go from one entity, like from the city to the chamber to the whatever.
Yeah.
It's all
It is nice.
there.
One-stop shopping.
Right.
Yeah.
It's great.
Even for the new residents, there's a page that shows all the utilities, all the contacts. So when you move to town, you can set up your phone, you can set up your cable, you can set up your electricity, you can set up your water, you can set up all of it from kind of one page. It's all laid out for you.
That's awesome. Thank you for all the team's hard work on that. I know that took all the departments to make that happen. So thank you for heading up that project and everyone helping out with that. Looks great. And we're scheduled for Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
That's our goal, yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Goddard. Mr. Boyce.
All right, so I wanted to mention we have some vacancies we're trying to fill on committees. Mosquito Control District, we have a vacancy. We need a Woodland representative, so we're advertising for that. If you know anyone who would be interested, let us know. Civil Service Committee. And also it was brought to my attention that we haven't been having the Salary Commission meet, and that's the committee that sets elected officials' salaries. So we need to do that because there is an ordinance. However, folks on the committee, their terms have expired, so we're advertising, trying to refill those positions. So again, if you know of anyone who's interested, send them my way. Would appreciate that. And then, the rest of it, I was just going to do a reminder, which the mayor already did, about the two items on resolution 743.
Sorry.
No, that's all good.
She's
And,
always stealing.
I think that's all I have right now.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Boyce right now? Mrs. Graham?
Yes. If by accident that somebody should happen to actually pay their water bill twice, does that just go on credit or is it refunded?
We can do either.
Oh, okay.
If those happen.
Yeah, it does. It did.
So just contact Shannon or me. and-
Okay, as long as it goes credited to the account, then I don't know.
Yep.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Moving on to consent items.
Move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Chapman, second by Councilmember Rounds. Mrs. Anderson?
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
All right, consent items have passed. Moving on to action item D, ordinance number 1492, fixing the amount to be provided by, I can never say this,
Ad valorem.
taxes upon the property in the city of Woodland in 2022 and approving an ordinance summary for publication. Second reading. I always struggle with that.
I'll make a motion to approve action item D, ordinance 1492, fixing the amount to be provided by ad valorem, taxes upon the property in the city of Woodland in 2022, approving an ordinance summary for publication. I'll second that.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, second by Councilmember Graham. Councilmember Rounds.
Well, we said we were going to do this when this happened, and so I think we should. It's only fair to the businesses because they're going to be taxed, I think, aren't they, by the fire department? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I think we don't need to double tax them.
Councilmember Graham.
No comment.
Further discussion? Mrs. Holland, do you have anything? No? Okay. Seeing nothing else, Mrs. Anderson, will you please take the roll on action item D, ordinance number 1492.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
All right, action item D has passed. Moving on to action item E, resolution 741, authorizing a decrease in property tax.
Move to approve action item E, resolution 741, decrease in property tax.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Plaza, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Plaza.
If I remember right, this is basically just a bounce off of what we just voted on, and we had made the promise, I guess, that if that had passed, that the difference in property taxes, the reduction that would come would actually be passed on to the citizens of Woodland. And so, if I'm correct, I think I am, if that's the case, then we need to do what we said we're going to do.
Councilmember Rounds.
I concur with Councilman.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Anderson, please take the roll on action item E, resolution 741.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Action item E has passed. Moving on to action item F, declare city property surplus and authorize sale at auction. Final packet surplus items, resolution 743.
Move to approve the packet, but pull the Chester freezer and the salt lamp.
I second the motion.
All right, moved by Councilmember Chapman, second by Councilmember, Mr. Smith, did you get in there?
I said second, but.
Okay.
Okay. Go with
Moved by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Chapman.
Yeah, we're just getting rid of some surplus and stuff, but there's some issues on two items we have to pull, but other than that, it's all up for bid coming up.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, it's just extra stuff that's not being used anymore, and I think they have to send it to auction. It's not something they can sell. They can't sell it. They have to send it to auction, I think. So it seems pretty self-explanatory.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Anderson, please take the roll on action item F, declare city property surplus and authorize sale at auction. Final packet, surplus items, resolution 743, with the exception of the rock lamp and chest freezer.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Action item F has passed. Moving on to action item G, resolution 742, rescinding resolution 719, declaring COVID-19 emergency.
Move to approve action item G, resolution 742, rescinding the resolution 719, declaring COVID-19 emergency.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Plaza, second by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Plaza.
Just as the mayor mentioned before, it's been, in my opinion, quite a while since, if ever, that Woodland was ever really in a state of emergency due to COVID. I understand, and in fact, I voted in favor of declaring a state of emergency when COVID first hit, because we really didn't know what was going on. But unlike some agencies that I'll leave unnamed, I don't believe continuing in a perpetual state of emergency for whatever reason is beneficial or good for the citizens of the city. So Woodland's in business. We've been in business for quite a while. We've passed, or attempted to pass, quite a few resolutions saying that we're back in business since June of year before last year, something like that. So it's time just to basically put this to bed and get back to work.
Councilmember Rounds.
I agree that I don't think we're any longer in a state of emergency, and I think it needs to be rescinded.
Further discussion? Oh, Mrs. Holland.
And I know this is completely irrelevant, but I just want to say my spouse and I are probably the only people wearing masks in all of New Orleans. Just wanting to put that out there. Like, literally, to get into any place, you just have to show them you've been vaccinated once or have a negative test.
And you don't have people falling over dead in the streets there?
I've not seen any,
Huh.
and it's
Shocking.
really bizarre to me
Oh, really?
because I've been so trained for the last almost 2 years that it's really crazy here that literally we are the only people wearing masks here. So anyway, I think our emergency has long been over in the city of Woodland, so I'm in favor of moving forward with this.
Thank you, Mrs. Holland. Mr. Smith.
I would agree. I think the emergency's done. I think we've learned enough that it's not an emergency state. We can work through any issues that come about.
Anything further? All right, Mrs. Anderson, will you please take the roll on action item G, resolution 742, rescinding resolution 719, declaring the city of Woodland in a COVID-19 emergency.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Action item G has passed. Moving on to action item H. Authorize mayor to sign an interlocal agreement with Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office for cost share of participation in the Spillman Records Management System.
I make a motion to approve action item H, authorize mayor to sign an interlocal agreement with Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office for cost share of participation in the Spillman Records Management System.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Rounds.
I just think it's a smart thing to do, and that's the only comment I have.
Councilmember Plaza.
Spillman is a pretty big deal when it comes to what our law enforcement officers can and can't do, and how records are kept for, well, because by law, we're required to retain, records for a certain amount of time. And if we didn't have this capability, it would be a lot harder for our police departments to do what they do. So, while spending money on anything sucks, this is actually one of the few things that is actually worth the money you spend.
Further discussion?
I'll just agree with what you said.
Thank you, Mrs. Graham. Mrs. Anderson, please take the roll on action item H, authorize mayor to sign an interlocal agreement with Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office for cost share of participation in the Spillman Records Management System.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Action item H has passed. The time is now 7:41. Do you guys want to break, or do you want to jump right into the workshop? All right, it is 7:41. We'll jump right into the workshop then. Budget fiscal year 2022. Mr. Boyce, I believe you are up for presentation.
All right, let me find the right form here. Looks like you didn't save the mayor's budget message, but you do have it in your packets and the other information I have that I'll project on the screen. So we're presenting a balanced budget again. You'll see the overall budget went to $30,061,000. There's a couple things driving that number up from where we've been in the past. The COVID dollars, so it reflects another, 1.8 million in COVID dollars. Also, with the changes in utility rates, the fund balances are building to complete some of the capital projects that we have in our plans. So, and also fund balances have increased a little bit because we made some personnel reductions during COVID, and that helped build some of the reserves also. So, I wanted to hit some of the big picture items. Let me just find the file here. Print keeps getting smaller as I get older. That's the one I want to go to right on. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're still having a little issue getting the reports to run out of OpenGov, so I just put together a spreadsheet. Last year you had these same numbers, but with nice colored graphics and whatnot. So the first box talks about available resources, and this is throughout all the funds. So you can see in 2020, we had actual resources brought in of 22 million. 2021, we budgeted 31 million, almost 32. And for 2022, we're proposing the 30,061,000. Next box is all funds, the expenditures for all funds. So this is the general fund, everything. So in 2020, we were looking at 22,991,000. The current year we're in, the budget was set at 32 million. And again, the expenditures that equal the revenues are 30,061,000 for 2022. General fund, I need to apologize for my cough, it's a sinus infection thing. General fund resources, 2020, we were looking at 6.6 million, 2021, 8.2 million, 2022, proposed budget of 9.2 million. General fund expenses, 2020, we had 6,700,000, 2021, 8.4 million, and 2022, 9.2 million. The beginning fund balance for, and I tend to group the general fund, the park fund, the street fund, and 301, the capital reserve fund together when looking at fund balance, because we do share resources between those funds. So in 2020, we had a beginning fund balance of 1.5 million. 2021, beginning fund balance of 2.4, and 2022, 3.7. So the increase is going up, which is where we want to go. The ending fund balance for all of those funds, again, 2020 we have 2.4 million, 2021 3 million, and 2022 about 3 million. So at our next meeting, when we discuss budget next week, I'll have a breakdown a little bit more of the fund balance, because we have Prop 1 money from the police department we should talk about, and some of that revenue is restricted for, the COVID funds we receive. So we'll be looking at that a little more in depth.
So sorry to interrupt,
That's fine.
can you go scroll up to the top? Yeah, so for all funds, within 2 years, it looks like we have an increase of over $8 million. Is that through COVID and all that? Is that where that extra money is coming from?
Yeah, so it's for different reasons. So part of it's almost $2 million in COVID funds. Part of it is we had some additional sales tax coupled with some reductions in expenditures we included. Also, this current year, we changed utility rates, and we're building those reserves to pay off capital projects that we're planning on doing.
Okay.
So that's the reason for that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't all COVID money, because obviously since we said that we're no longer in an emergency, the chances of those fundings go away is pretty good, and so I didn't want to look at it and go, oh, we've got this money, and then all of a sudden, boom, the money's gone.
No, the money has been
No, I know,
allocated to the city.
we've got that money now,
Right.
I'm talking about like,
Gotcha.
looking down the road type thing. Okay.
Okay. I also wanted to talk about, before we get into some more specifics, salaries for employees. And right now, we're in negotiations with both Teamster units, the Public Works unit, and this is also the last page in your booklet. So we're in discussions with both Teamster units, clerks and Public Works. So we haven't included a COLA in the budget for those groups yet until we conclude negotiations. It may happen after the end of the calendar year. So if City Council ratifies a contract after December 31st, we may have to amend the budget to cover that. The police department has a contract that's still in effect, so with their salaries, you'll see a 3.2 0.25% COLA is included. So that is there. And for exempt employees, basically department directors, the deputy clerk-treasurer, we included a 2.5% COLA from the previous year. This grid gives you every position in the city. We are filling a couple vacancies in public works. These two labor positions you see, we're proposing to refill those. And in the clerk-treasurer's department, we've got a position funded for a clerk 2 record / public records request clerk. At this point, we're kind of iffy about this one for several reasons. We're still negotiating with Minol to help with utility billing, and that could free up some clerical time to help with this purpose along with some other things. And right now we're dealing with a pretty high level of public records requests, which may or may not continue. We're assuming it will, and we want to fulfill everyone's request as quickly as we can. Also, the police department is going to bring on body cams, and we're unsure what public information request for that video might be. So it's included in the budget right now, but one of the questions for City Council to consider is, I don't think administration wants to fill that position right away. We want to feel it out and see how things look. But City Council can either leave that appropriation in the budget and it wouldn't be used until a determination is made if we need the position. Or City Council could remove that expenditure appropriation and administration could come back to council when and if we think there is a need for it to ask for a budget amendment to ask for that expenditure appropriation. So don't need a decision right this minute, but something to ponder. We'd appreciate that. And I should mention on the police department also, we do have some vacancies, but we're asking to appropriate funds for all the authorized positions. And that includes the Prop 1 positions that we were able to hire. Code enforcement, as you know, during the COVID issues, we reduced that position. It was a 20-hour-a-week position. We're asking now to include it as full-time, and we believe, the code enforcement position has always been reactive. It was initialized when a complaint would come in. There's a chance it could be a little more proactive, and also I believe Mr. Goddard has some uses for, how should we say, zoning inspector? Yeah. Zoning inspection. So if someone has a project and they're required to put in, landscaping or something like that, this is someone that can go out and interact with the developer to make sure everything gets done. So that is also in the budget at this point.
Question real quick.
Please.
I know we're just talking hypothetically right now, but for the code enforcement guy, it's part-time here. You guys were talking about making it full-time.
Yeah.
In addition to going out and checking landscaping and whatnot, How much work would there be? Would there be enough for a full-time position?
Mr. Goddard, do you want to address it?
I believe there would be, because there are proactive things that we can do. I kicked myself because after this week's rain, it would have been a perfect opportunity for the code enforcement officer to take some funds out of code enforcement budget and go out and rent some of those giant dump truck-sized boxes and leave them in the neighborhoods and have people bring their yard debris and dump it in there. And if we could have got a ton of leaves out of the streets and away from those inlets, we could have saved the public works team a ton of time from having to go out and clear them once the rain starts falling. But I mean, that's just a great example of how we could have proactively, you know, in a week, saved the public works days and days worth of manpower on the other hand, so.
That's similar to that program that Portland has where they come through and say, drop all your stuff because they have this similar problem in some of their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
How do they pay? Do you know how they pay for that?
I don't.
They do a lot of them, make a difference day, if we had that, make a difference day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with our, the jail crews that we had, we always keep up on that, but we haven't been able to have that for the last year plus.
The other thing we get a lot is we get a lot of requests for courtesy inspections. Like, will you come take a look at and tell us what you think? Somebody who knows the code, for example, the oak tree wants to get in the, it's the 100 Davidson. People want to go in the 100 Davidson and take a look at the building and get some input from staff. It would be fantastic if we could walk them through the building and take notes and talk to the building inspector, talk to the engineers, and get them the answers in quick order, because we have an inspector who's invested in making sure the projects are successful.
And I'm sure there's a lot of things around town that's not being done properly that they could find.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that there are a lot of things that a code enforcement person could find. My concern is, well, two things. One, I wouldn't be too hot on the idea of making it a full-time spot if we say, okay, go out and make work, and then,
Yeah.
you know, citizens see him eating a sandwich in the city truck while he's getting paid with their tax dollars. On the other hand, I wouldn't want it to be a situation where you have somebody that's basically going out there being the inspection Nazi and going around and harassing businesses and, you know, stuff like that either. You know, so I'm kind of balancing it would be nice if we had somebody full-time that could do these things, but on the other hand, you know, is there enough and where they won't get bored and, you know, move on to something else, or are they going to be maybe doing more than they should? So.
Well, I'll help you out maybe a little bit. I'm sure the work's there. I'm not saying it's not. Just running the numbers here, it's going to put somebody on full-time, it's going to be additional $44,000 into the budget.
Okay. But
So-
if we had a dedicated code enforcement officer, in a sense, that could pay for itself through the work that person does.
Yes.
Okay.
And it'll free up other staff to do work that is more productive for, like, the public works team, because they can.
Which will save us money as well.
Yep.
Okay, and let's see, it's going to bring you to admin salaries. Okay, so this is the salaries grids for all exempt employees, the city administrator, public works director, police chief, clerk-treasurer. We don't have that position filled right now. Deputy clerk-treasurer, community development director, building official, we contract that out now, so there's no one in that position. And associate planner, which is vacant right now due to resignation, but we're trying to refill. We did make, we're requesting a change to the police chief's salary. Basically, about a $10,000 adjustment. We looked at some jurisdictions around, and it definitely looks like the chief is below market. Now, we're trying to get back to, and I've talked to the Human Resource Committee. Let me try to make that bigger. Let's see. Not that much. Okay, so, yeah, and when you look at what some of the officers are making with overtime, they definitely eclipse where the chief is at. Most of the positions are maxed out at step 9 right now, with the exception of the community development director right here, but he will come to that step 9 after his anniversary date in 2022. But what I was saying is, the HR committee, we've discussed, back in 2016, we did an analysis where we were looking at exempt employees and trying to find some way to compare our positions to the market with both like cities as far as population and tax base, and also trying to weigh that with other entities in our general area. Some of those are much larger. So we had a 50-50 split weighted on, any place in the state that had, like assessed value, sales tax and population, and also some entities around us like Ridgefield. We look at Kalama, the center, Battleground, I think even Kelso. And the intent was to look at what they're paying and make sure the city's still in the market so we can retain staff and attract. I think many of you will remember when we had some vacancies, such as public works director, police chief. Well, almost everyone here, we had to make some adjustments to the salary in order to get applications. So the only thing holding that back right now is the amount of time it takes to put together those comparisons. We intend to do that and try to get it to council as soon as possible. But it's been an eventful year so far with divvying up duties in the clerk's office and the budget and whatnot. So anyway, we saw a need with the police chief contract or salary, and so we're requesting city council take a look at that. Any questions?
Mr. Plaza?
So if that's, let's say we go ahead and hypothetically approve the salary adjustment for the chief of police. Where's that money going to come from? Is it going to be taken away from things that should be going to the officers then, or how's it going to work?
Well, it's part of the general fund. So depends how you look at it. So you have a pot of money in the general fund, and you make priorities as to where that money goes. So it's not Proposition 1 money. It's just general.
Okay, so it's not Prop 1 money that's specifically for police department type stuff.
Right. So the Prop 1 money can only be used for 3 officer positions.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And general equipment.
Right. Okay.
And training as well.
Right.
Training for new officers, or just training in general?
Training in general.
Okay.
So
basically it would take a little juggling. It's coming out of the general fund, so you can't say specifically it's coming, we're taking it from A to B.
Yeah, it's coming out of the available resources.
Okay.
So couple other things I wanted to discuss. So we're continuing on with, we have the rate study completed for utilities. At the next meeting, we'll have some, slide prepared for you discussing, where those revenues are. So we're still trying to bring on Minol. I think we're pretty close on the contract now. I know I've said that before, but I think we really are now. So we're talking right now our plan is February to do rate increases instead of January. So as you know, the water fund has more upfront projects, which is driving higher rates in the water fund. So to continue into 2022 in February, that would be a 15.5% increase. It evens out a little bit with sewer. So sewer is only 2.6%, and that's because the sewer projects are years down the line, so we have more time to save for those projects. So that that will be coming at the next meeting. The let's see. So the budget looks different than last year. Basically, you're looking at a spreadsheet right now, where before we had the graphics in each individual department. But to give you an idea of how to find things, we're starting out with all of the line items, and you can see this is all revenues. Let me blow this up a little bit more. And you get the, so you can see the accounts, the account number, which fund it is, that this is the general fund. These are all revenues. These are the account names, so you have beginning fund balance, federal grant, property tax, sales and use tax. Why did it do that? Well, it's not supposed to have those rows in. So I guess we're going to be looking at a sliver here real quick. So what you have is the actuals for 2020. You have the 2021 budgeted amounts. At the request of Councilmember Fredericks, you have the 2021 September actuals. And then you have the proposed 2022 budget. One of the items I wanted to show was property tax. So we just took that action to reduce the property taxes. We're doing this a little bit differently this year. Last year and in previous years, you had property tax going directly to some other funds, like the street fund, for instance, and the park fund. What I'm proposing doing this year is receiving all of the tax in the general fund. So that's the $866,000 you see there. And then to support the park and street fund, we'll be doing transfers out to those funds. One of the larger transfer outs is to Public Works, or to the water fund, and that's a lot of the COVID dollars. So if you remember, we talked to City Council about prioritizing the American Rescue Plan dollars, and we had $100,000 in for HVAC at City Hall. We had $100,000 in for consumer relief with utility payments, and the remainder was to go to water projects. So there is a transfer out to the water fund of about $1.5 million. So that's one of the larger transfers. And again, at the next meeting, we'll have one slide that shows you what's going in each fund and what's coming out of each fund. Also, I wanted to call out the utility taxes. So, for instance, the water public utility tax, well, I'll fix the screen, I will. In 2020, we brought in $226,000. 2021, we thought we'd bring in $236,000. So far this year, through September, we brought in $191,000, and we're projecting $252,000 for next year. We're trying to be conservative on those numbers. The utility tax does go up as utility rates go up because it's a percentage. But I want to remind councilors that because we reduced the property tax, the city now is more reliant on sales tax and these public utility taxes to keep the general fund together. So that means there's, especially relying on sales tax, there's a little more risk involved because, the economy can fluctuate and what people spend fluctuates. Whereas property tax was considered maybe a little more stable, although we did, during the Great Recession, see that go down a little bit too. So we need to keep in mind that we may want to think about fund balances. It might be prudent to increase the amount of fund balance we carry in the general fund just because of that risk. But that's a policy decision we can discuss a little bit more. Sales tax. All right, so in 2020, the actual is 1.9 million. 2021, we budgeted about 1.8. So far through September, we brought in 1.9 million, and we're projecting about 2.1 million. So this 2.1 million is based on looking where we are to date through September. I think Councilmember Smith had some more recent numbers from October. So we're going to be monitoring this as we get closer to the end of the year to make sure that this is still in line. But again, that's something we need to look for. Another highlight is, okay, we reduced the property tax, but in the vouchers tonight, the city actually paid its last quarterly fire contract payment of $354,000. That's quarterly. So moving down, we get to expenses in the general fund, and we get to the fire, and they're put by department. So right by here it is. Okay, so this is the contract with Clark-Cowlitz Fire District. You can see this year, 2022, we budgeted nothing. So, like Councilmember Rounds mentioned, citizens of Woodland will be paying the tax directly to the fire district and not the city. So we reduced our property tax to make sure we didn't double tax. The intent was to make it as cost neutral as possible. 2021 actual, through September, we had paid $1,063,000. Here's how much we reduced the property tax by, the $1,443,000. And the previous year was $1.3 million that we paid. So that's a big deal. That contract was rising faster than we could keep up with revenue. So now it's on the fire district to watch the expense and the revenue. So let's, so to get you a little more acclimated with this, I don't know why this, it's really bothering me, these frames froze on me.
You can unframe it.
I guess you can make that small. Sure, there we go. Okay. So you can see the totals. We've got these headers on where the page breaks are, so when we print them out in your notebook, you have the page break or the column headers on each page. Here is the grand total for the general fund revenue. So $9.2 million approximately. And then we jump into expenditures. So you'll see the ending fund balance at $1,000,005, and you get into the different categories and departments within the general fund. So legislative, this is for city council operations. Judicial includes intergovernmental professional services, witness fees, interpreter fees. So that's pretty close to the previous year. The executive. Now, this includes the mayor's salary and my salary, and just operations for the executive. One thing I haven't done yet that we probably need to do is, now that we've split up some clerk duties, myself, Mr. Goddard, and Public Works Director Coleman, we probably need to be redistributing the salaries to the areas where the work's being done. So I've been keeping track of my time. I know Mr. Goddard has. I believe Ms. Coleman has also. So at the next meeting, again, we'll talk a little more about salaries, and I'll show you how we're splitting up people that are paid from multiple funds and different departments. So right now in the budget, that first sheet I showed you with every position in the salaries, that's what everyone gets paid, so you can take a look and see everyone as a whole. At the next meeting, we're going to have spreadsheets that show you how, for instance, Public Works Director Coleman's salary is paid. So some of it comes out of water, some comes out of sewer, general facilities, parks, and then many of the Public Works employees are also split up. But it's true also of clerks in the Clerk-Treasurer's office and community development also. So I will work on making that distribution. So you may see, this salary line go down, but there will be adjustments elsewhere in the budget to account for it. So bottom line won't change, I guess. I think we made an error last year. This is the Clerk-Treasurer's budget. You can see in 2020 we had an actual of $229,000. We budgeted $450,000 for 2021, and through, this may be a little off too. This is Clerk-Treasurer, and this is also Clerk-Treasurer. This is more budgeting, accounting, finance, and this is more clerk records duties. So we had $450,000 in 2021 budgeted, and $100,000 for the clerk duties. You can see right now we've spent, I I think we have a coding error, maybe. We've already spent over the 100,000 in the clerk budget, and then we're way under. We've only spent 12% of the 450,000. But looking at the two combined, you can see for 2022, I budgeted 74,000. So it looks to me, and I've been going over this with our payroll clerk, that we just over appropriated. So, it may be a budget amendment. We want to, reduce that line. Again, it's not actual dollars, it's an estimate of what we think we might spend. But since it's over appropriated, we may want to look at that. So for 2022, we're looking at 74,833, and down here, we're looking at 90,000. So anyway, we'll take a little bit closer look at that, but I wanted to point that out. And I should also say this does include that additional position that we talked about for public records requests and document management. So we'll need to decide if we leave that in or pull it out. All right, and other than that, one other item I wanted to point out. The audit. So in 2021, we budgeted 22,000. We haven't had an audit, so we haven't spent anything. The auditor's office contacted Mrs. Anderson and talked about with all of the COVID dollars out there, they're looking at cities that have good track records and seeing if they can delay the audit. So next year, we're going to audit 2 years, so you'll see a doubling of the expected audit expense. I myself like an annual audit, things are fresh in your mind and you get eyes on it, but this is a situation that doesn't happen that often. So after this year, we should be able to get back to annual audits. Trying to look for, I know all of you can go through the numbers and see what's changed and what's the same.
Hey, Pete, you turn your microphone on, please. My computer just died.
Oh.
I'm just all right. It's fine. I'm just
Okay, so I think I'm on.
Yeah, she's on. She's still on, right? Miss Holland's still on there.
I believe so.
Yeah, just make sure she can hear you.
Councilmember Holland, can you still hear us? We need to switch computers. Let's see.
No, she's doing.
I'm going to bring this back when I'm sharing. I'm not sure I can.
How to turn off the sharing?
Well, turn off the sharing. It's right here, right?
Oh, there's a lovely picture.
Councilmember Holland, can you still hear us?
Oh, it's
Is your volume up?
What's that?
Is your volume up?
Yes.
There's the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
thumbs up.
Great, thanks.
Perfect.
Turn my camera on too.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Get back to, I forgot to share again. Okay, so general facilities, not a lot of highlights there. The insurance appropriation, I don't think we've heard from the insurance company yet what the final number will be for 2022. So we included a little bit of an increase from 342 to 352, but we're still waiting for the final number. Civil service, that's always kind of the same, a low budget item. Community development, you can see we have the planning budget up here, which is pretty close to what it was the previous year. Last year it was 196. Here we're looking at 204. The building side of the community development department, again, last year it was 222, this year 223, so everything's pretty close there. Okay, so this area here is agencies we pay money to. So you can see Association of Washington Cities dues, emergency management services, animal control. There's a new contract being negotiated. So I actually received a copy of it, so it will be coming to a future city council meeting. Mr. Plott?
I know every time animal control comes up, we ask the same question. And it was supposed to be looked into, but I don't know if I was ever here when we were told. But what do they do for the $15,000?
It's a topic of conversation every year, Mr. Plaza.
They don't get an answer every single year.
Weren't they supposed to come and give us a
So
presentation?
they do
talking about it?
submit reports to us, and we'll gather them for the year and send them to you.
Yeah, that would be
And
good.
we had invited the director to a council meeting earlier in the year, and we had some items going on at the meeting, so we canceled. And it's on us for not getting the invitation back out to the director. So I'll reach out to that person.
Okay, so he's just not blowing us off.
Oh, no, absolutely
Okay.
not.
But yeah, if we can get that info, that'd be nice, because then I can finally put
Yeah.
this question to bed.
Well, and it is a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. As you're referring to a couple of years back, there was a major financial adjustment. I think we went from paying $8,000 to $14,000, which was huge. The explanation for that was that, they basically weren't charging the entities they were serving enough, and ended up getting funds pretty low and were having trouble operating. They got a new director and whatnot. So anyway, if we can invite the director back, maybe I'll try to time it so it's the same time the contract's on the agenda.
That would be nice. Because if they can justify the cost, then, no problem, but.
Yeah, and you might remember at the time we were trying to find other options. It wasn't just the city of Woodland itself. We were working with Longview and Kelso and everyone who had that service. And, unfortunately, there just aren't a lot of options out there. So, yeah. Bless you. Yeah, okay, so we'll do that. The Diking District air pollution control, some of these aren't changing much at all. Mosquito control, pretty low amount. Calit's economic development, the LCCAC, and substance abuse. So the difference between the current year, we're looking at $58,000 this current year, and we're looking at about almost $61,000 for 2022. Police department, so we're looking at changes in salaries. So 1.4 million for the current year, about 1.5 million You can see a little bit of an increase for personnel benefits also. You can see the difference between 2020, that's before Prop 1 and the additional hirings, and we made some hires in 2021, so you can see the increase going up. You'll see, when you're looking at that large spreadsheet that shows everyone's salary, you'll see that this number differs a little bit, and the reason for that, in the past, we've always put down 60,000 for overtime, and that's really not accurate. I had our payroll clerk run the numbers for 2020. We actually paid 168,000 in overtime that year. So we've made some adjustments, and every year we throw in, about 45,000 for training. So when an officer goes from training, sometimes we have to pay time and a half, or there's someone who has to backfill that position that we pay to fill that back position. Elsewhere in the budget, there's also a place for paying registration fees for classes and things like that. So we also included about 100,000 more for overtime because it's more reflective of the actual that's happening. We'll continue to look for ways to reduce that overtime when we're fully staffed. That could help, and we'll be looking for opportunities to reduce that when possible. All right. The other item I wanted to point out, we always talk about care and custody of prisoners. We're showing an increase there so this year we budgeted 156,000. Next year we're budgeting 164. However, I think, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, we're showing 29,000 spent through September, and I think that expense has gone down because of COVID.
Correct.
Trying to keep people out of the jail.
Yes.
So it will come back as COVID dissipates.
Relax.
So, again, this year we've made a large appropriation. It's not coming to fruition. Again, that's just an estimate of what we thought we might spend. So if something's not spent, it stays in the fund balance in the general fund.
In the recent correspondence with the Calhoun County Jail, an increase of 5% was indicated. So that's where that number came from.
Great. And if you look at, I guess 2020 is the COVID year also, so never mind, I was going to say that's higher. Dispatching services, we always discuss that. Current year, we budgeted 130. We've spent 80,000 so far, and budgeting 137. Chief, is that about where it should be, the 80,000 for September?
Yeah, that is, and it'll increase just a little bit. We might make that 130 by the end of the year. The other part is that we may be able to realize a little bit of cost savings over the next couple of years as they transition to Spillman everything. So that's Spillman dispatch and that type. So the cost may be, their savings may be realized in the next year or two.
Are they still using CAD for the other stuff then?
Yes, yeah, the Intergraph. And so when we go to the Spillman CAD, that whole package will be the maintenance fees aren't going to be as high, so that, and unfortunately, Calhoun 911 is in a little bit of an influx right now. They don't have an executive director, so there's going to be and we might see something later, about the first or second quarter of the year. We'll not have an actual projection.
Great. And the big item to point out in this budget, 172,000 for capital equipment. You can see this year we budgeted 1,000 and haven't spent anything prior 2 years. Chief, did you want to explain the Sally Ford?
Yeah, I'm in the process of working a deal. Steelscape does some donation type things for big facilities like that, so they may be providing us with the skin of that. We have to provide the cost to build the skeleton or the bones for the building itself. So it would be up in the neighborhood of 100 or probably 250 by the time it was all done. But we're asking council for about $125,000 just for the interior of the Sally Port. And also included in that number is the funding council allotted for the body-worn camera systems that we've got coming up. That's why the number got huge overnight.
And that these expenditures are eligible for the Prop 1. All right, next, we have code enforcement. So the salary is up 44,000. So this includes the full-time code enforcement officer. We also had a split of time from the community development director and the permit tech who are assisting with code enforcement right now. So we didn't take those expenditures out yet. But as we get into the year, not knowing if or when we're going to hire, we can make some reductions there if need be. We talked about the contract with fire, so that is off the books. And general fund totals, you'll see the expense here equals the revenue there. When you get further down in the budget, we'll go on to other funds. Okay, so this is the park fund. You can see one of the changes I wanted to point out was property taxes. We said we were going to do that differently. So you'll see 150,000 appropriation for 2021 and 0 for 2022. However, the transfer in covers the deficiency to fund the park fund. So that's a transfer in from the general fund, the 268,056. You can see the current year. This is also something we should talk about. We have 140,000 this current year coming in from the park impact fees. I still need to do a little more analysis on the park fund. In this current year we're in, that 140,000 was meant to be a grant match for that
RCO.
RCO grant. Couldn't remember the letters.
Splash pad.
Yeah, the splash pad in the park. So that's not happening this year. However, those park impact fees can only be used for an enhancement of the park due to growth. So we need to return those funds to the park impact fees. So we need to do a little bit of an analysis on the park fund to make sure we weren't using that. The park's always tight. We had some overtime in the park that was unexpected because of COVID and the heavy use of, especially Horseshoe Lake Park.
This summer.
Trash pickup's been crazy in park months. So we need to check to see if the park has the resources to pay that full 140,000 back. I believe for October it had a cash balance of around 56,000. So if the park's unable to pay that back to the park impact fees, we may have to look to the general fund or 301 general reserve to reimburse that. And Public Works Director Coleman told you last time about the expenses. Is there anything you wanted to highlight?
In regard to the park?
Yeah.
No, I think the only thing I'd just like to say is some of the expenses are out of our control. We can't control keeping people out of the park unless we actually close it down. We've had some significant cost increases doubled on our porta potties because we had our restrooms that were closed. So we had to bring in double the amount of porta potties. We also had theft in the porta potties and some vandalism that we had to take care of. And then also our dumpsters. We had to have extra dumpster pickups because of the amount of garbage. And then we've also had to have extra dumpster pickup at our shop due to the fact that our dumpster at the park was overflowing, so we had to take that to the shop. And so we had that extra cost. And then because of the heavy park usage, we had to have additional staff in there on the weekends. And we, based on our union contract, we offer on a seniority first gets the choice, so your seniority are your highest paid when you do your overtime. So unfortunately, you don't get the choice to choose the lower paid unless they volunteer and offer that. So some of these aren't controllable. The only way you can control that is if you close the park. So it's unfortunate that we run over the parks every year, but it's fortunate that people are out there using the park and they're enjoying it. And I think this is a really good use of our funds. So.
Now, with the new trash cans and whatnot that we're going to be buying, that should help alleviate some of those ongoing costs, yeah?
No, not necessarily, Councilmember. The new trash cans are to replace our existing trash cans that have actually pitted and corroded holes at the bottom of them. So most people are pretty good at the park for the most part. And when our trash cans are filling over, they'll take the garbage and set it right next to the garbage can. But we still have to pick it up and dispose of it. So this is actually just replacing the garbage cans that have holes in them. We've painted them, and you can kind of get by with that for the last few years. But now we're actually just replacing the actual fixture itself. So that won't save on any cost.
Yeah, that doesn't affect the dumpster.
And it won't add garbage cans. It's replacing garbage cans that are in the ruins. Right. So that'll go in the garbage.
And it was packed this summer. I mean,
It was, we could barely keep up with it.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
I'm sure.
we had a lot of labor hours there, and the guys were getting burned out. And remember, we did not have the extra 2 laborers. We had very limited part-time laborers. We had nobody apply. We had to recruit people to come in to apply. We only had them for a limited amount of time. One of them was part-time, so our guys were working an excessive amount of hours. And at the last minute, we also did hot summer night movies in the park, which that's volunteer too. So our guys did a really good job in Public Works for volunteering, and the gals in the office coming out and helping with hot summer nights and movies in the park. And I couldn't ask for a better staff. They kicked it. So I'm very, very impressed with our staff. For the amount of people that we have, people don't realize what goes on in the city for the little amount of people that we have. And whether it's at the Clerk-Treasurer, planning, or whatever, or the police, there's a lot that gets done with a handful of people. So, yeah.
Petty cash fund, that's just kind of an in and out, $850, not that much. The advanced travel fund is always at $2,000. We also notice when we do these, here are the revenues for instance, the advanced travel fund, and then here are the expenditures, and the revenues always equal the expenditures. This is the street fund, 104. So you can see the beginning fund balance. It's getting a little bit healthier, it's 482. One thing to think about, we've got the street fund that provides some grant match dollars for certain projects. And we also have the transportation impact fees fund that provides some matches. The transportation impact fee fund is, if I remember right, getting pretty low. So it may become more challenging as we go forward.
I believe it was under $100.
So for September, so for September, the transportation impact fees are down to $393. So
Is that a pothole?
No.
No.
So-
Just checking.
we had a pretty good balance in the previous years with transportation impact fees. but because Tracy has been bringing in so many grants, which is spectacular,
Right.
I wiped it out.
it's starting to become harder to make the matches.
When do we expect for the housing to start breaking ground and those dollars start coming in?
I expect them to start coming in next year.
Okay.
So, I mean.
In 2022?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be able to start building that account back up.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I would be surprised if we didn't see 50,000 a year for the next 4 or 5 years.
Okay, good. Okay.
And as long as we're talking about the street fund, I guess we should mention that the infrastructure bill that got signed today includes $11 million for our Exit 21 project.
11.7.
11.7. So
Nice.
we're working on, I think the project's about 14.
15, over 15 million, so that
Yeah.
brings in 12.7 million to the city in grant, and then we are working on some additional funding as well, so.
So, anyway.
We're going to get her fixed.
Yeah, the free money isn't all free.
No, nothing
Never
is
is.
always
No.
free.
And we'll be, just so everybody knows too, we'll be approaching the county in early December for additional funding to help out with their folks, which they've been open to, which is amazing that they're willing to listen to us and allow us to make the ask.
So hopefully we can find some partners to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Property taxes, again, I wanted to point out, so again, it's all going to the general fund, and then you'll see contributions are transferred in a pretty large amount, 778, to help out with that. Expenses, Public Works Director Coleman went through that with you last time. So not a lot to report there. I should mention these outside funds do pay an administrative fee back to the general fund. For instance, here at the street fund, you can see it's transferring out $119,000 back to the general fund. And you'll see the park fund, the street fund, water and sewer do that. And the idea behind that is they're paying for services such as, insurance that we're paying, and administrative duties that happen for them that are funded by the general fund. Document recording fees, not a lot going on there. Hotel motel. So the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee is meeting this Thursday at 5 to look at applications that have come in. I do need to check with Planters Days. I don't believe I've seen an application for that yet. So, any of you know anyone on the committee?
I think somebody does.
So we'll be asking.
I'll send them a note.
Yeah.
So we'll be asking, I did send an email with a link to our form online, but if they just contact me, I can get it back to you. And then we'll be asking the folks to present at that committee meeting on Thursday at 5 in this room. And again, you can see the revenues equal expenditures, revenues, expenses. 228, okay, so now we're getting into the debt service funds. So this is paying off debt for, I believe, this land and partial construction of the building. We have a amortization schedule that we go off of. So we do have a local public safety tax that goes in to help pay this item. And so here's the total on the revenues, total on the expenses. You can see the principal, and I double-checked this because of the large difference between these two principal payments. But that's what's on the amortization schedule, and then it will go up again in subsequent years. And then the interest expense down here. Fund 229, this again is related to this building, I believe. One of these funds helped buy a fire truck also, I think it was the first one. I'm not quite sure. So again, you can see the revenue sources, the general fund. So again, before, this is one of those funds that was receiving property tax. That's a zero this time, but it's getting a contribution from the general fund. And then you can see the expenditures. So this one's a little more in line with the principal and the interest costs from previous years. 230. So when we finished the fire station, or when we planned the fire station, we were a little bit short. So we did a small bond measure to cover the additional costs. And this is being funded mostly by a contribution from 301, the General Reserve Fund. So you can see the 53,000 coming in there. Principal payment this year is due to be 43,000, interest 10,200. Okay, now we're getting into capital projects. I'm sorry, this is the Capital Reserve Fund. So to highlight here, we've got a beginning fund balance, we believe we're estimating at 1.6 million. Ending fund balance, we're looking at, I believe, 1.7 million. You can see the different, the REACH funds, we're estimating at 167, 158,000. Total resources, about 2 million. The expenditures, you see mostly transfers out. This one to Fund 229, 10,400 being transferred out. These are the debt service funds that are going to the Fund 230, the 53,486. And it's also making a contribution to the street fund of 239,000. The equipment acquisition fund. One item I forgot to mention in the general fund is we're about due for a new phone system. So I budgeted $25,000 for that new phone system. I'm taking so you can see the fund balance about 67,000 to start. I'm taking a contribution or transferring money to the general fund for that 25,000 to redo the phone system. It's kind of back and forth. In the revenue, you'll see a contribution. We usually try to bring a percentage of sales tax to this fund so it can keep growing. The general purpose of the fund is to purchase equipment that we need in the future. So it's like a little savings account we put together. It's usually used for vehicles or things like, phone system or a server or something like that.
When you sell the equipment, how much do you go to that fund?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Anderson, that we usually, if we're sending water, like, let's say we're selling a truck from the water, that's at the water plant, would go back to the water fund. So we try to do that. Most of the general fund items, just goes back to the general fund. On 320, we're getting into capital projects now. This is a sidewalk project that is over. We still show the old amounts. On 324, This is the remaining of the Exit 21 project. And then we have Safe Routes to School, that's zeroed out next year. That's complete.
Safe routes to school, we didn't receive those grant dollars, so that should be,
So in 2021, I was showing,
Was that matching dollars right there?
we didn't, I don't show that we shouldn't have spent it, I could have, there was no safe routes to school.
so the,
We had set aside.
yeah, so there was no expenditure in
Right.
2021.
So that money could go back in the pot, because we didn't get the grant, but we're applying for it
So-
again this year.
Was that a contribution from?
From the, yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay, so our $339 just went up, I guess. I'll work with
I apologize
Mrs.
for
Anderson to
missing
make
that.
sure that's.
Did all that come from traffic impact fees? Is that what you were banking on for that money?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Okay.
It's either there or street fund.
Yeah, so the, correct, that's correct, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so I guess we need to go back and analyze that, make sure like it's.
And I apologize that I missed that.
So that's going to go into the 2022 budget?
No.
Well, it'll go back to the fund from which it came from. So if it was transportation impact fees, it'll go there. They'll become part of that fund balance. And
And
can be
go-
used for future projects when we need grant matches.
Yeah, we have some grants that we have out right now that we don't have matching funds for, so.
But you're trying for the safe routes again for...
Yeah, we're trying for 2 of them for State Route 503, that's correct.
Well, are
And
we
two-
budgeting for that on a separate one or is that on that?
No, we can use these as existing funds, so, that are there. I
That's
had
right,
it in
just-
my balanced budget, but.
Showing 0 on that proposed for 2022, that's what's wrong.
I,
For safe route to school, it's showing 0 for 2022.
right, but we'll set up something different based on whichever grant we get, so. But I put it in my balanced budget for the grants, when I went over the grants, I put it in there, so I think I took it on the streets, to tell you the truth, for next year. I'd have to go and double check that, I apologize.
All right, and 327 is this. Okay, so exit 21. So, this is the grant dollar, or the federal dollars we got for.
That's from CWCOG, yes, and that's for engineering, and our match is 80,000 of that, and I did put that in the budget.
Yeah, so you see the transfer in of $81,000 there. West Scott Reclamation Project, looks like we don't have any, I guess, yeah, so we don't have any expenses or revenues scheduled for 2022.
The West Scott Full Depth Reclamation, we do have expenses for 2022. That's for, no, I apologize, we don't have that till 2023. 2022, we have the
So the fund balance.
pedestrian crossing and the water line.
Okay, so the fund balance can stay until those projects.
That's correct.
Okay. And Davidson Avenue crossing, so that's
That's for this next
completed.
year. No, Davidson Avenue is for 2022.
Okay, so I don't show any expenditures or revenues for.
I'm not sure why it isn't showing in there, because it was in my spreadsheet. It might be under a different line item. Might have.
Oh, that's calling it revenue, that's why, but there's
Oh, is that
no,
revenue?
it says revenue.
Well, we should have a $500,000 in there, in that revenue for Davidson, because we received the grant for $500,000 from the Cowlitz County Commissioners. And that, so I'm not sure why that didn't pull through, Pete, but that was in OpenGov when I looked at it, and it was, so I'm not sure why it didn't come through on that. But it was in OpenGov, and it balanced.
Okay, so, yeah, so just so you know, these numbers were exported from OpenGov, so we'll double check that. And Fund 351, impact fees for fire, so we're still collecting that. So these have to be used for, fire suppression or fire department related services. So we'll wait and see how that pans out. We are also working with the fire district to work out distribution of assets and whatnot because of the annexation. So we'll be coming to council a little bit later with that. Impact fees for the park. So right now, total resources, we show about $125,000, expecting $41,000 in impact fees throughout this year. That's a little bit more than we were expecting last year, and you can see the actuals show that we weren't meeting that expectation, but it looks like we're going to have some housing come in to help pay for that. Impact fees for transportation. We budgeted $30,000, trying to be conservative. We'll see if that revenue comes in. Now we're getting to water and the enterprise funds. So water sales, you can see we budgeted about $2.1 million in 2021 with an increase to $2.5 million in 2022. And that's based on that 15.5% rate adjustment that we talked about. Is there anything else you wanted to highlight, Teresa?
No.
Okay, she went through the expenditures last meeting. So you can see the total expenditures and revenues for the water fund equal $5.2 million. The sewer fund, you can see the rates being brought in there. We budgeted for $2.8 million in 2021, about $2.9 million in 2022, and that's again a 2.6% increase. So it's that's why you don't see a dramatic change as you did in the water fund. Again, those projects are further out. So you see $7.1 million in resources, coupled with $7.1 million in expenditures. Again, here, just to show, here's the contribution the sewer fund is making to the general fund for administrative fees, $344,000. Next is garbage collection. Not a lot to talk about here. We do receive an administrative fee from garbage collection, $135,000. The stormwater fund is new. We haven't yet started that. We've got some minimal fees budgeted for this year of $20,000. We may need to look at this a little bit closer when we get to launching that project. We'll see some salaries, again, when I talked about employees' salaries being distributed to different funds. There's a small percentage of those being brought to the stormwater fund. Water treatment plant booster pump, that was, I believe, Tracy, that was completed this year. So we've got zeros appropriated for 2022. Water treatment plant.
Is everything done with the water?
The propellers were going in on Monday, so the Scott Hill booster pump.
Okay.
So it should be wrapped up and we should be able to pay it all out by the end of this year.
All right, the water treatment plant capital project. Was that the HVAC and the new electronics?
Yeah, the electronic and SCADA.
So that's all complete, so you see those are.
Yeah, we're in the filter stage one right now.
Okay, and this is the water utility reserve. So we're talking about a ending fund balance of about 142,000. Sewer utility reserve, we've got about 587,000 in there. Again, that can be used for some of these future projects. Again, we're building fund balance to be expended later. Utility deposits up there. And, yeah, so love to get that thing out of there. So you can see grand total on revenues and grand totals on expenditures here. So we talked about the general fund being, or I'm sorry, all funds being at $30,061,000. This year, there might be a little issue here because these are supposed to be equal. You'll notice these are, about 31,000, 31 million, 32 million. That's a little more than we appropriated when we adopted the budget last year, but again, the budget amendments we've made as we go along have increased that. So, that's what we're looking at. I'd love to take questions if anyone has them. Trying to give the highlights of what to expect. Overall, the city is in a pretty healthy state. We'll give you a little more detail on the fund balances next go around, and a little more detail on salaries and where
Are we meeting next Monday?
if city council would like to. I know
We're supposed to.
Yeah.
running a little
Are you traveling?
behind, so.
Pardon?
Are you traveling?
No,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
be done, I think, by then.
Okay.
So we'd like
For a while.
to meet next Monday at 7, if folks can be here. And I think next time it'll be a fairly small presentation and looking to city council as to what changes you might want to talk about, explore, or just make.
Yeah. Questions for Mr. Boyce or any of the executive team tonight?
I asked questions as it came up.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
good.
Mrs. Holland? Do you have anything?
Mrs. Holland, do you have any questions?
She. Oh, we can't hear you. She looks tired, like her hair's off to the side. I just
Well,
want
do
to
you realize that she's in New Orleans, that's 3 hours away?
I know.
It's almost midnight there.
Yeah, like 10 a.m. our time.
It's a little after midnight there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
New
jeez.
Orleans-
She's on her-
New Orleans
she's
time
on her
is
third
like-
hurricane.
I'm just gonna call her. I'm just gonna call her. There we go.
Okay, how do I get rid of this thing?
We don't drink, we chug. We chug, we don't
There
drink.
we go.
Answer your phone, Deanna. She can hear us, but we can't hear her.
Yeah.
There she goes, yeah.
We can hear you, you just can't hear us.
No, I can hear all of you. I just didn't know, whatever. My question is if I'm understanding this correctly, parks are only paid for by impact fees? Is that what I was hearing?
No. No.
Okay.
Let me pull up the page here.
No, I muted her. So I don't think we should get feedback. I think we're there. This technology is amazing.
Okay, so it's weird when you have an echo. Okay.
Sorry. Here, I'll turn down when you talk. Go. Okay.
So property taxes always make a part of the revenue. This year, we're receding that into the general fund, but you'll see a $268,000 transfer from the general fund to the park. So that's the biggest share of revenue. There are some small items like program fees, $5,000, community center rentals, $3,000, Horseshoe Lake shelter rentals, $3,000, miscellaneous, $400, special event fees, $2,000. So there, but the biggest part of it is what we were paying in property taxes. So that's the $268,000 from the general fund.
Okay. There, I have an earbud in and a mayor on my other ear.
I'm sorry.
No, I just didn't want you to have the echo anymore because I know it's annoying. So, well, that answered my question. Thank you.
Do you have anything else? Well, I gotcha.
I'm taking notes, so
Okay.
I think at our Monday meeting, I probably will have more.
Okay. Sounds good, because it sounds like we're going to be turning, just for everybody, we're going to be finishing up our portion and turning it over to council for discussion and additions, subtractions, whatever.
Right. So,
Okay.
so I guess Monday I'll bring some additional information on fund balance, maybe a one-page spreadsheet showing all the transfers in and outs and out of the various funds, so you can see where the money's going. And a little more detail on salaries and how salaries are being split between different areas.
Gotcha.
Will we have the recommendation from the lodging tax advisory? It sounds like, it looks like they're meeting on Thursday. Will we have that for them on Monday as well? What was recommended? Okay, good. Okay. Mr. Smith?
I know everybody loves to talk about the water bill, so. I had a citizen ask me about the infrastructure money that's coming in, or the CARES Act money. I think it's what, like 1.6 is what's going to go to?
1.5.
1.5?
Yep.
Their question was, is there a way to offset that money to try to reduce the increase that's coming? I know we were talking about a 15% increase. That's a pretty high increase. Their concerns, their mom lives in, or their parents live in the city of Woodland, and they're on a fixed income, and it's going to be a struggle for them. So I don't know what the qualifications are. I was going to talk to you about that after the fact.
So we discussed that. That was actually an option that we brought to the table when we were discussing this money coming in. Can we do that? Can we give this out to the water bills? Can we reduce the rates? Can we reduce property tax or the utility tax? What can we do with this money to help out? And we could, and the answer was yes, we can. But unfortunately, it's a very small relief, because the projects that this money is going towards are not budgeted at all now. So in a few years, when they have to be done, we're going to have to, what this is going to do is slow the rate in a couple of years to where it doesn't have to go as high. I'm looking to Ms. Coleman, because this was the discussion. This is how I was educated, because I'm like, oh, lower it down, people need help.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the only thing we're doing is helping them out now. It doesn't help them in the future. But we do have our low income, or the assistance program we have. We also have the $100,000 that was put aside. That's why we did those things, because we know that we can do that and help out those that are truly in need, and not just doing a blanket across the board, and we're still able to slow the rate increases. Ms. Coleman?
So the city right now, and Pete and Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, is working on an assistance program that we haven't finalized yet. That needs to be brought forward to council. So that's one thing. The second thing is we've been contacted by Clark County. Was it Clark County or Cowlitz County in regards to a low-income or people who needed assistance that I sent to both you and the mayor.
I thought that was kind
Cowlitz County, thank you, it was, thank you, Pete. In regards to some assistance for utility billing that people can qualify for. And they should actually fill out an application, we put them in touch with them. Also, Deanna has a source of funding through her organization that allows for that as well. So there's 3 different sources of funding that are allowed for people who might be in a situation who might be restricted financially, that we would be able to present to them. One of which is not completed yet, and another of which needs to be voted on council if we're going to accept it, which wouldn't make sense why we wouldn't, because it's free money from Cowlitz County. And we'll be bringing that forward. But in regards to the rates are based on our capital infrastructure, and as everybody knows, our capital infrastructure is from 1906. And not all of it, some of it is newer, but the majority of it, you think of when it was laid down in the ground, you're looking at the 1900s. So as we fix things and build roads or do whatever, we upgrade that infrastructure as we go. We have a running spreadsheet of our infrastructure and how old it is and when it needs to be replaced. And it's unfortunate that in years past, with previous council members, we've discussed this, that the rates did not go up for many, many years. And so it came back in 2012 where they automatically had to do a 7% increase. And the council members decided in 2012 that it was going to be an automatic 7% every year to try to get caught up so they would not be bankrupt. And so then we actually hired somebody to do FCS group to do an actual analysis on our infrastructure and what that's going to cost, and that's where the numbers came down to. So you can't postpone the inevitable. And if you keep the rates low now, you're going to have a higher expense later on because you're doing emergency repairs, which cost more. So what we're trying to do is get the infrastructure on a regular schedule to try to keep those fees to remain very, very similar throughout the next years and not have huge fluctuations as we've had in 2012 moving forward. So you want to try to keep those fees very minimal as you go up. And so we're at a point now where we think that we have a game plan for our capital improvement structures, and we can move forward and maybe not have these huge fee increases in years to come.
Well, and we're seeing that in the sewer this year with the small increase
so we're
versus the
caught up.
7%.
Yeah, so we're caught up to date in our capital infrastructure with sewer, so we're pretty good with sewer. So we've kept those rates low. And the key is to try to grab as many grants as you can, like we have grabbed some grants for the Davidson waterline crossing. That's $500,000 that the county gave us that our citizens don't have to pay for. So that stayed out of our capital infrastructure. So we're doing everything we can to keep those rates low. But the unfortunate thing is our city's over 100 years old, and there's just infrastructure that needs to be replaced. But the key is doing it as much as we can with matching dollars and let the citizens realize that once we get to that point where we're caught up, we should be able to be stagnant for a little while to keep it just a small fluctuation instead of these huge peaks that we've been seeing lately.
Okay.
I hope I've described that.
No, absolutely. And then when it comes to maintaining stuff, I fully get what you're talking about.
Yeah, you understand that.
It doesn't make it easier for people paying the bill.
No, but if you have people that are in a situation and you have somebody that's come to you, I encourage all the council members to have them reach out to Pete and or myself, and we will do anything and everything we can to help them financially based on their income and the qualifications that we're allowed to.
Can you send that info over as far
well,
as?
I will, if you can give me the information, because 2 of them have not been approved at council yet. One of them is what the city's plan is going to be, and the other one is the presentation that was just given us to Cowlitz County. It's a brand new program that just received COVID dollars, and so they just presented it to us, and we have to sign a contract with them. I would be more than happy to send that information to all the council members, but Deanna would be another person where she would have to share that program information with you for them to qualify for her program.
She's hiding.
Didn't we give, how much COVID did we give, and we turned it over to the Woodland Action Center, right, to distribute?
I do not believe that's been voted on yet. I think that was...
So we have council said, let's do $100,000 for utility relief. We need to put the program together.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to go back and look at
Gotcha.
that.
I didn't realize that's what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so that's something that we need to solve. The other one is, like I said, from Cowlitz County. I want to say it's the CAP, it's a CAP program is what it's called.
I think you're right.
So,
I think you're right.
Yeah, so I can get with you guys this week and we can bring that to council at the next meeting. It's a no-brainer to be able to get it, because it is $3 to the city of Woodland's residents.
Some of the, like, I know last time we had the funding, not a ton of people applied on it.
No.
Right.
And one thing that was brought up also with this last vote that happened, there wasn't really information out there for people, and she was asking, she's like, why isn't the city sending this information out? And I was like, well, I don't think the city can come out and necessarily try to sell you to vote yes on something, you know. I think they have to be bipartisan.
On what?
As far as like the transportation, you know, so.
We can't advocate for or against
Yeah.
it, or however elected officials can.
So-
They use city resources.
I don't know, I mean, she was like, you know, why aren't they out there doing more to get Facebook and do that type of stuff? And that's what I was like, I don't think they can. So I'll talk to her more about that. But
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I have emails come to me daily. I say daily, but it's an average daily. I might get 2 in one day and none in the other, but that ask about when am I going to get my road fixed? When am I going to get my road fixed? And the answer is whenever I can get a grant, you know. And so you only get so much in grants, and we've received quite a few dollars in grants. So there's going to be a point of no return where we're not going to get grants for a few years. So, and the budget is what the budget is. The impact fees do not go to road maintenance.
yeah, and these are all conversations that I had with her that
Yeah.
night, and she completely understood.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I think she grasped the concept and how much of a struggle it was. But yeah, it would be nice if there was a way to get more information out, and I think with this new website, it'll probably help. But I think especially for the relief of seniors, it would be a good thing to try to get that on there.
So maybe that's something we could add on that website, Travis, under our utility, our relief dollars, or, you know, do I qualify for relief dollars or something like that? We could put a website in there, and we could put that information for the different programs they have available, or Deanna's contact, where it could link to her program and go from there.
Okay.
So, because most people want to be confidential in that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it'd be great.
That's a really good idea.
And I think another thing to remember, I'd have to go back and look at the rate report or the rate study. The first 3 years of the water increases were huge, you know, with the 15%. I think after that, there are still increases, but they're much smaller percentage.
And maybe that's something we need to, I hate to say this, but advertise it a little bit more that it's coming, to kind of break the ice maybe now before it hits, and to where people can plan a little bit more ahead, because
And
it's going to be very
everything is
painful.
on our website, Monty.
Yeah.
Everything you can share with that. We have our whole water system plan that shows all the capital infrastructure, and we also have our rate studies that is on the website as well. So,
Yeah.
and if anybody needs it, I can forward it to you, and you can send it to them directly as well.
Well, I know the world likes to live off of Facebook. I don't know if that's something we can look at, trying to get more public information out there in that route too.
They do?
So,
Yeah, it's a shame that sales tax didn't go through and it was close.
yeah.
But what did we do to advertise that?
That was me. So, I mean, I made my rounds, talked to Chamber, talked to a few HOAs, tried to do what I could to, without crossing a line or getting anybody else involved. I mean, I like to think that it helped, but obviously not. It was close.
It's a darn shame.
You know, and there's folks that are out in the county that are saying, well, you know, if we could have voted on it, we would have done that because we
Right.
want to drive on nice roads too. Well, put an application to be annexed into the city then.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sit on council too.
See, everybody
So,
would have
yeah.
helped pay for the roads and stuff that,
Yeah.
when they bought stuff, that's traveling.
And from when I
rather than
explained
just
it,
the citizens.
from when I explained it to the people I talked to, they
Made
grasped
sense.
it. It made sense.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe next time, because it's going to come again.
Right.
It will.
It's going to be on the ballot again. There's no doubt about it. It needs to happen. Maybe this is something we actually get together and have prepared statements for people to go out and try to sell it as the council members that would like to go out there, try to figure out statements to put out there.
Is that something too that could go on Facebook?
Not on our Facebook.
Not on ours.
Not on yours.
Not on ours. That's the
Okay.
struggle too, a little
Okay.
bit. Was trying to
Yeah, figure out
navigate
how
that.
to-
Yeah.
I know
As
it's
council
iffy.
members, we
if we chose to, could post all about it. Just the city itself can't advocate for itself
Right.
one way or the other.
Right.
Yeah. And that might be something that's worth coming up with a statement for the council members to, if they want to post, they can, and say, here's my email, reach out, contact me, we can talk more about it. Just start the engagement a little bit better than what happened last time, so.
All right, anything else for the good of the order?
I just wanted
Oh,
to
go ahead.
mention, since we're talking about rates too, you know, the sewer went up 2.6 as opposed to the regular 7% that it's been going up for a while. So, you know, when you're looking at the giant water rate, you need to also kind of look at where the sewer rate's going. You know, still overall, it's a hefty increase. But, you know, I'm trying to look for a bright side here. At least the sewer is not where it was.
I know.
Right. And we're going to monthly billing.
Also, I can pay my bill.
So you can pay
Two
it
times.
2 times a month instead of just twice every 2 months.
Yeah.
Mrs. Graham. All right then, if there's nothing else, the time is 9:26. We're out of workshop and to the end of our meeting.
I make a motion to.
Moved by Councilmember Holland, which is running on 1 a.m. soon, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Nay.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Councilmember Holland said no. Enjoy the rest of your trip, and we'll see you back on Monday.
Thank you.